Bold Badass Business, where we bring you the badasses who will make the biggest difference in your business. Today, you all, I am thrilled to let you know that Jules Vitality, a social media and visibility expert, currently living in Mexico, but quite the nomad, the global trotter, is here with us and is going to be sharing with you the top 5 or more social media mistakes that you're making that are costing you business. So, Jules, I just want to welcome you to the show. Hola, ¿qué tal?
Hola, ¿todo bien? Qué bueno verlos. Well, I speak English, Russian, and Spanish is getting up there. So anybody who would like to come and get to know me better is absolutely welcome. I do not bite, although it may come across as I do.
That's hilarious. No, I can tell you all, I've loved partnering with Jules for some seminars, met her on the Podcasters Cruise, and she is just outstanding in her field and will help you stop doing that stuff that is not working on social media. We don't want to see your freaking breakfast, people. Don't post a photo of your breakfast. I don't want to see it. You know, who
Depends.
cares?
Depends. If you are a breakfast coach, you might.
Jules, I just realized I have this big gob of collard greens in my teeth. Oh my God, you all.
We can
Those
see
of
that
you
because we're coming out here. We touched up our appearance today.
yes, we are just, yes, we touched it up. How cool is that? I love that. So, Jules, let's jump right in. Why don't you tell people first of all, really, what is it about your business that you absolutely love and are proud of right now? Just
I love the
something.
people that I get to meet, and I'm proud that I can take them from where they are in their journey and identify the most effective next steps to get them on the road to where they want to be. I can roadmap and lay out the whole road, but nobody can conceptualize it when they're right here. We can only see a few steps ahead of us. It's just like walking in the dark with a flashlight. Okay. So giving them the first few steps, I find is the best way to go about it. Although I usually like to kind of give them a big picture so that they understand the landscape of social media, running a business online, so that sort of understand which possible directions they can take. And as we zoom in on a direction they want to take, we work on first few steps. And then I love seeing their progress. I love seeing how their content changes, how their social media improves. I love seeing how they start having confidence and showing up, how they start having alignment between their message, their content, and their speaking and their offer. It's just incredible. The rewards of seeing people grow and get their businesses higher up is amazing. And then I'm basically um, encouraged from that to now serve them at that higher level. I'm like, well, I got to step up my game now because they've grown. So I got to grow. I got to keep learning. And I always do so that I can teach them then, how to scale, how to automate so that from the baby steps, we go into serving more people in less time, generating more profits in less time with a less effort, right? So it's like this beautiful blossoming plant that has more and more leaves, and it's beautiful to see a little garden of all my clients grow.
I love that. I love that. I'm thinking about Voltaire, the writer, the French writer Voltaire, who said, cultivate your garden. And you're cultivating your garden of clients as you help them cultivate their gardens. And there really is a lot of misinformation out there about social media. There's a lot of posturing on social media. There just are people doing things that are really, I think, abhorrent, like slimy sales trying to contact you. I get so sick of those messages. Hey, what would it take for you to get 100 new leads? And don't reach out to me that way. Not initially. We need a relationship before I even want to listen to you. You know what I'm saying, Jules?
Yeah, and it depends again where you are, because what I say is when you're not overworked, when you have time, when you have bandwidth to develop relationships, yes, that is the most effective and most productive and the most rewarding way of building connections online. But at a certain point, people get to a level where there is no capacity to meet people one on one, right? That's when speaking, stages, And
Mhm.
even events like this become useful because how many people are listening to us right now? How many hours of your time would it take to have that kind of conversation with every one of the people who are listening and are going to continue listening and watching because this content is evergreen, right? So depending where you are in the business game, there are different strategies, different methods. And yes, of course, the best quality connections are one-on-one, obviously. So, and we both encourage you to come and get to know us one-on-one. But at the same time, it becomes a lot more focused and a lot more strategic, and it becomes a lot more productive because when you're in the game for some time, you figure out what kind of connections you're looking for, right? You get to know your niche so well that you know who is your potential client and who's just wasting your time,
Mhm.
right? So all of that comes with experience and from with
Jules,
coaching because you work with coaches, I work with coaches. We learn and we pass that knowledge to people.
exactly. We pass on the ways to avoid all the fuck ups we've had, right?
Mhm.
All the mistakes. If y'all don't like the word F up, well, it's real. I'm just being real with you. I mean, when we're in business, I've been in business for 23 and a half years. You've been in business for a long time, Jules. How long?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur only for about 3 years, but prior to that, I was a serial entrepreneur on top of my consulting business and corporate career.
Yeah.
So I guess, including the consulting business, I would say probably a couple of decades.
I love it. Yeah, you don't look that old. Neither one of us does, especially when we are so touched up here on StreamYard. Hello. Anyway, you all, we're going to have fun. Like, if you don't like to have fun while we also talk about business, this is not the program for you. So just go find some boring ass business show that, people talk in monotones and don't share anything real. But Jules, I think you have oh, by the way, Jules looks like Sandra Bullock for those of you who are listening. She really does. Remember that was the first thing I said to you on the
Yeah,
podcast, first
especially when I
cruise.
had
You look
darker
better
hair.
than
Oh my
Sandra
goodness.
Bullock. Better
I
than,
got that
better.
all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true though. It's really true. But you look better than. She looks like you, Jules. Sandra Bullock looks like you. Isn't that better? So I love several things that you've said. One thing you've said that I think is really powerful is that it depends on what stage of your business you are in. And generally, I love working with people who are in the first few years of their business, or maybe they haven't even quite started. And at that point, what you've got to do, you all, is have those relationships and you want to bring people into a one on one enrollment conversation. That should be your biggest goal anytime, is to bring them into maybe your email list if you're speaking, but more than that, bring the ones who are seriously interested in what you do into an enrollment conversation, because that is where they're going to come into your programs or avail themselves of your services. So Jules, what would you add to that? How can we bring people into enrollment conversations without feeling salesy and slimy?
Yeah. So again, I think that is something that I would like to add a little bit of padding to. The enrollment conversation is definitely part of a three-step shortcut formula, especially for those of us who are starting out, or those of us
Yep.
who only primarily serve one-on-one. Okay, so if we primarily serve one-on-one, then most likely we have medium to high ticket offer. Okay, and if we have a medium to high ticket offer, we do not need a multitude of clients. We only need a handful. And in that handful, the most effective way to convert them into a prospect into a client is through that sales conversation, one-on-one call, strategy call, whatever you want to call it. And in order for that to happen, you need to basically book your calendar with these calls. Okay, so I'm kind of going backwards, right, in the chain of things. And then how do you get those calls into your calendar? Well, that is where visibility, marketing, speaking comes in, right? This is where prospecting comes in. And we'll just put marketing around it. But visibility is just one of the methods of marketing. Some people run ads to book their calendars, right? So all of those methods are marketing. Okay. So then when we get into, okay, so how do we get more sales conversations? We need to be realistic with our time. If we already have 5 clients we're serving and our commitment to them is 1 hour a week, then our full day is already taken just serving our clients. Okay. So how many more calls can we take? can we take basically, let's say if we have a 4-day week, I'm just going to make it a 4, because we should not work
We're going to
more than
honor
we
Tim
did in our
Ferriss,
job,
our
right?
work week, right?
Right. We obviously want to have a better work week than we did when we were working 9 to 5 slaving for someone.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, and and I just kind of make it into 4-day week. You can do, I don't know, 5, but 2 of them are half days or whatever, right? So let's say one day is taking the calls, another day is serving your clients, and then you have 2 more days, right? Well, one of those days will have to be dedicated to marketing. And again, I'm just saying a chunk of time that's equal to a day. They're all mixed and matched in your calendar, right? And then you also have all the admin stuff, all the networking events, all the speaking, all of the other stuff you do, emails, follow-ups, other stuff that you do for fulfillments, not just the one-on-one calls, right? You probably create templates or reports or something. You have probably a team to run.
Yes.
Right?
Lead mags. Yeah.
So you got to be realistic and efficient breaking up your week, because in that day, let's say out of the whole week that you can take calls, and again, it could be spread out through multiple days, but like equal to a chunk of time, let's say, I don't know, 7 to 8 hours. I wouldn't even go that big. Let's say 6. Let's say you can take 6 sales calls a week. Okay. Then let's say your conversion rate, if they are well qualified, probably is between 30 and 40%. If they're not so qualified, maybe 20%, maybe even 10, between 10 and 20. Okay. So that means out of the 6 calls, you probably will likely convert 1. So basically you can get 4 new clients a month. Okay. Now we need to focus, and that should probably be enough. If you charge, let's say $5,000, 4 clients a month should bring you in $20,000. That should be, good enough.
Right.
Look, I'm gonna give it an average.
Pause you for a second. I want to just pause you, which is my nice way of saying interrupt you, because what you said is very powerful. Now I want you all to listen to her brilliant mind. First of all, she thought about, where do we want to go? We want to go to have 6 enrollment conversations a week. That's a good amount when you are a solopreneur. That is a good amount. And I would even say maybe if you qualify them better, you could get it down to 4 or 5. And if you become better at enrollment and your conversion rate goes up, you could cut it down maybe even to 3 or 4. But for now, those of you, 6 is a really good number. 5 or 6 is a really good number. Then Jules worked back and said, look, chunk your time. Did you all get that? Chunk your time. She didn't say it that way. I'm saying it that way. But in other words, put like activities together so that you are in your enrollment sales mode for a certain day, and make sure you have at least one day of your 4-hour week. If you have 4 days that you work a week, one day needs to be devoted to marketing. And actually, that's at least 25%. And I would say at the beginning, it needs to be more like 50 or 60% in the first few years of your business, because you got to be out there. So this is absolutely, you got to have that, because when you stop marketing, you're going to, in a few weeks or a few months, hit a completely dry spell. Yeah. You've got to ABM, always be marketing. And then Jules said, you want to work with your conversion. You will be lucky if you have an ordinary conversion rate to have maybe 1 of the 6 convert. If you have lower conversion rate, you're going to maybe need to do more. But with 4 clients at $5,000 each, that's a $20,000 month. Now, you all, do you see how doable this is? Everybody listening? How doable is this? Completely doable if you take those steps and if you track your activity. So let me ask you this, Jules, because I know we're talking about the top social media mistakes. All right. So what would be the mistake here? Not inviting people to enrollment conversations.
Mistake here. Yeah. Right. Understanding this flow, first of all, that's why I wanted to lay it out, is super important, because anything that moves people into this flow and along this flow should be reflected in your content, in your speaking, in really in anything you do, because your marketing should be laced with getting people through this. Let's use the word that it has, your like client, we're not going to reinvent it.
Journey.
Funnel. Client journey and a funnel. And this funnel we're handling manually, right? Some people, when they think of a funnel, they think of an email sequence and whatnot. It's because it's automation added to manage the funnel, but it is a funnel. It's a sales funnel. It's sales one-on-one. And if you ever go to the sales class, you're going to start with marketing, sales. It's all about the funnel. The more people you bring in on top, that they're gonna, as they go through the journey, the less people end up. Well, not the less people, the more people end up at the bottom, but they gradually, the numbers gradually reduce, right? So one of the mistakes people make is all of their marketing efforts that bring this number of people in. Let's just say 100, just for the illustration purposes, right? So let's say we need 100 people to get to one at the bottom, right? So these 100 people who say no, or who are not ready to buy, or who are not ready to buy at the moment, or who don't have the money to buy at the moment, or add whatever other objections or excuses they might have, what do you do with those people? Most people lose them. They
Yes.
literally just move to the next possible yes. Okay. Well, one of the things that I absolutely encourage is to have some sort of a holding ground for these people, to nurture them. And if you do not nurture them, those are like the seeds. You know how like you plant a bunch of seeds, only some will sprout. Okay. But some can sprout later. One time I bought cactus seeds in Arizona, and I put them in the pot. And like a year later, the pot did not move. The same earth, the same everything. I'm like,
Well,
these seeds were garbage. And I used the pot to put something else in it, like bought a plant and I planted it there. Well, what do you know? Like months later, I start having all these cactus plants popping up at different times. Different cactus.
that's a beautiful metaphor for it, because everyone is different. And if you take somebody who, for example, is a promoter like I am, we make fast decisions. We're like, hell yeah, put me in. And we pay in full. We don't worry. But people who are more analytical take a lot more time, and they sit back and they think, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just different. And so we've got to have I like your holding, what did you call it? A holding,
Ground.
it's like a
Holding
container,
ground.
a holding ground, or
Container.
a nurturing ground, where you're just watering, you're fertilizing, you're connecting, you're providing value, you're showing what you can do, you're helping them, and you're staying in touch. You're not doing the Ariana Grande School of Business, which is thank you, next.
Right? And the beautiful part about this is you automatically upgrade yourself to be a
Yes.
community leader. You become a tribe leader. You become an authority.
Yes.
These people now are observing you. They're growing in their no like and trust factor,
Yes.
liking you more, trusting you more, seeing you as a credible content creator, teacher, and so on, because you continue doing your things, right? You continue posting, you continue doing events, whatever it is you do, right? Your publicity, you're showing up with, here's my book, or here's the last time I got interviewed. You're presenting things that add to your credibility. And some people that are more nurturing, they're personality types. There's a lot of them, but analytical is one. It's basically like the doctors and the engineers. And then there are the social ones. And the social ones want to feel the connection. So for them,
The
it may simply take
supporters.
time. It just may take time. They may not really need any specific information or persuasion. It's just a matter for them to feel comfortable and familiar with someone. It's like developing a relationship, right?
Connection.
And there are some people that need a little encouragement, motivation, inspiration. So then again, you need to include some activities that bring these people up, that encourage them, and bring them to the surface, and give them something to do. For example, a great opportunity to network. Throw in a networking event, bring these people into a call where they can literally just get to know one another. You don't really need to work hard for that one. Just, a Zoom call, whatever, right? So nurture your people, and do be considerate of different personality types. In fact, I want to make sure that everything we say today, you guys look at it through that lens, because even the content you produce, the messaging, delivery style of your content, learning styles of people, all of that needs to be considered. Their personality types and their learning types. Audible, podcast, visual, show, or graphics. There's two different types of visual people. Some people like to read. Some people like to read a little. Some people like to read a lot. Some people like quotes. Some people like long form content and stories. So if you vary your content, you will have a variety of people you attract. It could also be a mistake. If you do not have that mental space, that capacity, that knowledge already to be considerate of all these things, and if you spread yourself too thin, trying to please all these types,
Yes.
you may get into burnout and spend a little bit extra time than maybe you need to. So maybe for the beginners, the best strategy would be to focus on the type that's just like you, because that's by default who we attract.
Exactly. I always say, Jules, your ideal client avatar, as many people put it, is a version of you. So look at how you are. Look at the industries you are in. Look at your personality. Look at your interests. Look at the way you live, your lifestyle. And your ideal client is you earlier, you before, you in a prior incarnation in
Yeah,
this lifetime, I
absolutely.
mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's so powerful. I love what you're saying, and I love that you are uh, giving the newbies here, don't scatter yourself, don't spread yourself too thin. Just start with the people who are like you, and when you are at a point where you can grow and scale more, then you could add in different learning styles. But for
Yeah.
now, start with one.
Yeah.
Start with who you are.
So depending on who we're talking to, the beginners or those who are scaling or ready to scale,
Hmm.
the same strategy may be considered a mistake or actually an effective strategy. So that's why it's so important to kind of put it in the context of who it's for. Just like one I had a little bit down the line about omnipresence versus funnel vision, right? So for the beginners, it would make more sense to pick one platform and focus on that platform, just like on one learning style, one personality type, okay? Maybe one offer. But for those who are scaling, they can then, multiply their content and
Hmm.
be in all of these other places, right? And cover all of these different learning styles and have a podcast and have a show and have their own magazine, right? And by the way, if you don't know how to set these things up, get a hold of me. We can help you set all of that up. You know how cool it is if somebody says, "Oh, I'm a coach, and by the way, I'm also a little media boutique. I have a magazine, I have a show, and I have a podcast." And it's so simple to do, and it gives you so much credibility, right? And so many ways to reach people in new ways and new methods.
I
Okay.
love it. Yes, exactly. And everybody, listen, when you do that, you need a team, right? And this is something that I think so often in business, we wait too long to get the team in place. You need a team, but you need a team that is appropriate for what you're trying to do. But I like what you're saying about choose one platform when you're a solopreneur, just working by yourself, basically with maybe your tax person and a few other people who work for you upon occasion. Start with one platform, or just be like me. Choose the platform you really like, which I do. I am on YouTube and I am on LinkedIn, but man, I'm not on Insta. My VA's on Insta, and I'm on Facebook because I like Facebook. Facebook is for me the social media of connection. So that's where I hang out.
Hmm.
That's where
Hmm.
most of what I do. That's where I filled the Make It Happen Mastermind the first time in just like 5 or 6 days. It was through Facebook and calling people who showed interest. So let's talk about that for a second, Jules, because I think, and I'm sure you have your version of this, that one big mistake people make is thinking that you're just going to post something up and suddenly people are going to come. That's not true, you all. You need to be looking for who's commenting, looking for who's liking it, and reaching out to them, reaching out individually and encouraging them, sending a voice message on Facebook Messenger, or maybe a text if you have their cell phone, giving them a quick call. Just something that's different. I really like recorded messages. I know you do too, because they're different. And it's super easy to do, you all, on Facebook Messenger. It's faster than dictating, and somebody hears you and they feel special. And when people feel special, they're going to want to show up for something
I
way
actually
more.
heard a really cool strategy. I haven't actually tried it yet. I just heard it on a
Oh,
podcast the
cool.
other day. And this podcaster interviewed a marketer, and this is what he does. He sends people pictures. He says, "Hey, I found your profile. Da da da. Looks like we have a lot in common. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to bore you with a long message. How about I send you, whatever limited number of photos that really describe me. And if you connect with who I am, I would love to jump on a call. You know, just
How
simplified."
fun.
And he's climbed mountains, he's done cool stuff, and he sends them pictures that are sort of personal
Yeah.
content, like they're not business sales images, right? But they at the same time they show people that he's, brave, that he's courageous, that he's adventurous, like basically his values. I think what you do is you demonstrate values, and I'm sure our listeners have heard, and I've heard it from you, Bartley, as well. We connect with people with the same values. We actually start following people because of the values that we've noticed of their content.
I think that was what was so special about the Podcasters Cruise, actually, is that the people we really connected with there, we're still connected because we connected on values. And there were a few I didn't connect with. And you know what? I don't worry about it, because I connected with the people that I felt were aligned with who I serve, what I stand for. Yeah, I love this, Jules. You know what? I always say, if you post animals on Facebook, for instance, you post your animals. I have 4 rescue animals. Dress them up, post them, put your branding on them, put your branded hat on them, put them out there, or I put stuff up for my webinars that's like weird pictures of cows and so forth. And it says, let me lasso you into coming to my webinar. Have fun with people, but include pictures of animals, for instance, and pictures in general, but pictures that are lively and fun, because people will respond. They'll pay attention. Yeah. Don't put some boring fake shit about your lunch that you ate. Just don't. But let's say you are a macaroni aficionado. I'm just making that up. Then put a picture of you making macaroni that's really funny, where you're trying to be Julia Child.
One of the ladies in one of the coaching programs I'm taking, one of the coaches, she basically says you can post anything as long as you link it to your business, as long as you make a lesson out of it, as long as you connect it to either something you sell, either something that speaks to your client, like somehow connecting it to something. And I was just giving an example of another coach in the same program, that basically, let's say if he's in a crowd, let's say there's a festival or something, he'll just literally just pull up his phone and either go live or record a quick reel, and he'll just say, hey, and the sound quality is horrible and everything like that, but that's his style. And he'll just go, guys, you see, I'm in a crowd, and if only I had a logo of my business in the back of my shirt that said, get in touch, how many clients would call me or whatever, right? So he always connects it to business. And that's his thing. Like, he literally walks around, he said, and funny. He'll look for things like, how can we make this more like for marketing or for visibility? How can we, turn this opportunity into that? And he'll give you like the randomest ideas. But that's the cool part about it. You can't post random content as long as you know that it's relevant somehow to either your business or your clients.
And it shows what you're doing and where you are. You know what made me laugh so much, Jules, while we were on the Podcasters Cruise, is that I did a little tour of our the cabin I was sharing with Tony Kaufman. I did this tour, and more people watched that. And it was just like, here I am at the Podcasters Cruise, and here's some of my roommate, Tony Kaufman. This is her stuff over here. And then here's the balcony. We're enjoying this every morning for coffee before we go to our sessions. And so it was related to my business, but it just made me laugh. So many people watched it, and they said, oh, I just love that video. Really, you all, be you, but also have fun with it. I was getting this vision as you were talking about him, Jules. I was thinking, wow, I'm going to have to go into a public toilet and do a video of myself and say, oh, I wish I had a Sharpie so I could write my information on the wall.
But, you know what? You will get a lot of views. You should totally do that, girl.
You got to cap the
I dare you. It's a dare.
I'll do it. Listen, one of the places that I presented over and over and over down at I always would go on vacation and present for them, which was fun. I would present and then go on vacation in this gorgeous coastal town. And I literally went to the restroom one time in between presentations I was giving, and they had put stuff about the Small Business Center right there on the walls of the stalls. And I said to the director, you are freaking genius. That is so smart.
Yeah.
So listen, you all, this is the guerrilla marketing, guerrilla, not like in the zoo, guerrilla, like G-U-E-R. Guerrilla marketing at its best is when you do something that's so different, and it's not the same old. And you don't want to be like completely outrageous, but do something that's fun and different, that takes people to a different place. Like, take them to Puerto Rico with you on your cruise, or take them to behind the scenes in your office, show them your filing system, or show them whatever, your mascot for your business, your furry mascot. I've got
Yeah,
mine over
absolutely.
here. You want to see him? Want to see him, everybody? This is Buddy. Buddy, where are you? Buddy. Oh, gosh, you can only see his feet. Buddy. Oh, well, he's huge. You can only see his
When you
feet.
don't want them, they come right in front of the camera. So just give it a minute.
Yeah. No, he's doing his favorite hobby, which is sleeping.
Oh,
You
that's
all.
my favorite hobby too.
Yeah, that's my teenager's favorite hobby for sure. Oh my God, I got a taser. I think I'm gonna have to use it on her. Anyway, I'm just kidding you all. Somebody's gonna be like, oh my God, she uses a taser on her daughter. That's a joke. So, Jules, I'm hearing from you that we should really use video too, that this is a mistake a lot of people make. They don't put visuals, they don't put video, they don't put photographs.
Yeah. So what I also noticed. Okay, so we were talking about outsourcing. Okay, so you got to be smart about outsourcing because one thing is just to say, here's a social media manager. I'm just gonna give him a whole bunch of stuff and let him do the job. Well, you
Hmm.
don't want to first of all lose your voice, your authenticity, and most importantly, if you don't give them the strategy of how to, mm, you know, compose or create that content with the goal of moving those people through that customer journey, as we talked about, it's going to look like a bunch of static stuff, okay, that keeps repeating, and people are going to like it, but it's not going to move people into your funnel or through your funnel. So if you do not have a call to action, at least to a landing page of with some sort of a gift or downloadable, a call with you, or either to or even something like to say, put something in the comment. You want to start making people act, okay? And those who act are good candidates for you to reach out to. So just the ones that are viewing and not reacting to your content are harder to turn into a customer and move them through the journey. And you want to encourage people to act somehow. So if you do not currently have anything that you want to call them to do, just ask them to comment. Even if it's asking them to like, if you're posting your content on YouTube, for example, on YouTube Shorts, you can also ask them to subscribe. If it's a newsletter, you can ask them to share
Yep.
any piece of content. You can ask them to share. You can ask them to tag people, right?
Mhm.
Any of the things that are going to bring more traffic and visibility to that piece of content are great calls to action. But the best ones are, if you want to skip all of these steps and just get them onto the call, just get them on that freaking call, right? If you already have a calendar link, you're good. Just give them the link. Ideally, you also want to give them a reason. Ideally, your piece of content should motivate and inspire a reason for them to book a call with you. But if your piece of content wasn't related to jumping on a call with you, you need to build a bridge, right? Like you're not going to say, here's my cat, my favorite hobby, jump on the call with me, right? You have to kind of fill in the blank for the person. You got to logically link the two. And then you can definitely use that call to action. And you can also say what they're going to get out of the call. Hey, jump on the call with me so that you take away 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yeah, I love it. And Jules, I want to say something about what you said earlier. You said that this particular person says always connect whatever you post to your business in some way, shape, or form. But I would add to that, don't always be very overt and salesy about it. Like have
Absolutely.
an 80-20, 90-10 or 80-20. 80% is you being you and connecting to your business, and 10 or 20% is you overtly saying, come to this webinar, come to this. Because otherwise, what I've found, at least in LinkedIn is maybe different, but on Facebook, what happens, and I know it happens for me, is I just turn off that person in my head. I just turn them off in my head because it's all about, come engage with me, come enroll in this, so we also
Yeah, the
do
call to action shouldn't be to the sale.
exactly. It
Great
should
for
be through
clarifying that.
something else.
It should
Yeah.
be to the bridge. Whatever way you connect with people before you start being salesy. Don't be salesy until that point.
So it could be an invitation, you all, and it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be an invitation to something you're doing. You could invite your tribe to something valuable that someone else like Jules is doing. And anytime you provide value to your people and generosity to your people, you can introduce people. For instance, anytime you provide value and generosity, you become unforgettable in a good way rather than a slimy way.
You inspire reciprocity. That is actually one of the
Yeah.
principles I was going to cover,
Good.
which a lot of people underutilize in social media.
Yeah.
They basically expect people to like and follow and comment and do all these things and share for them, but they rarely do that for others.
Yeah.
Okay. Or they rarely bring other people onto their stages or their platform, just like your own right now, right? If you have a profile or a page, you have a stage. Right? It rhymes. My goodness. We just came up with a statement,
Yeah,
with a
just
cool
write that
thing.
down.
If
There's a book
if you
that's
have a page, you've got a stage. Invite people onto your stage, right? And don't be like stingy expert. I'm the only expert. I'm not gonna bring anybody else who's like an expert in this field because I don't want them to sound smarter than me. No, there's no competition in this game. I always give an example that if you interview 10 life coaches, if you were to look for a life coach from the same town, the same
yeah.
experience, even if they were to read out the same script, you may connect to one, may, or you may leave all 10 and say, you know what, none of them. I can keep looking, because there's a lot of alignment that has to happen between a person who's buying and the person who's selling, especially the more personal your service is, the more time, testimonial, social proof the person is going to need, and the more of that energetic connection. It may be a great friendship, it may be a great referral partner, but they don't feel comfortable opening up to you, because let's say when you get into the field of life coaching, there's a lot of junk that comes out. And if the person doesn't feel that level of intimacy and comfort with you, don't take it personally. Bring other life coaches on your stage. You're going to show up as an expert. You're going to empower your audience. And guess what? They're going to bring you to their platform. I'm just going to throw in a fact in here. It's not really about social media, but it also applies to social media. It's really about lists, email lists or contact lists. So if, let's say, Barnsley has 5,000 people and I have 5,000 people, it's statistically known that only 5% of our list will ever buy from us.
Mm-hmm.
Over lifetime. Okay. If we're really good, maybe 10. If we're, not utilizing it properly, maybe less than 5.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do with the rest, and why the heck do we even nurture them? For the reason of having other experts come in, right? For the reason of using that now as our digital asset, right? It's our stage. These are our followers, our newsletter readers, right? They open our emails, they come to our events, okay? So why be stingy? 95% of these people will never buy from us. And 95% of the other person is never going to buy from them. That's where the collaborations, joint ventures, and partnerships become so fruitful. And that's why it's important to grow your list and your audience. The same principle applies to your audience, although it's a little bit harder to track those numbers because they're in different places. There's followers, there's people who like you, and all these kind of things. But, we can apply statistics like that even to your following. So if you have a stage, let's say you have 5,000 followers, bring other people onto that stage. Let them benefit from that stage. And you can swap stages. You can go onto that person's stage and benefit from their 95, because maybe energetically some of them will click with you.
Exactly. And you know what, Jules, I just said to a client of mine, one of my clients in the Make It Happen Mastermind coaching program, is she said, I'm going to connect with 3 pie in the sky people off LinkedIn, people she really wanted to meet who she'd followed for years this month. And I said, well, that's great, but what are you doing for them? How are you helping them? I want you to stand in the fact that you are going to, who are these people? You are going to serve them, not just by saying, I love your work, because everybody does that. Everyone says, I love your work. If you're a big guru, right? They're like, I love you. You're so great. I follow you. Who gives a shit? Give them something. Yes, I said the bad SH word, but give them something, like have them on, as you said, if you have a page, you have a stage. You can have them on your page. You can interview them. You can connect them with another high level person. You could send them a copy of your book as a thank you, but just do something that isn't what everyone else is doing, and serve the big person. Because I guarantee when you serve the big person, when you serve the greatest thought leaders in your area, your visibility is going to go, and your energy too.
Yeah. And you learn something along the interview. That's how, when I started in the podcaster space, I was still battling with mental health, and I was attracting coaches that were unknowingly, I did not advertise any of this, sharing their life experiences and what they've learned. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's for me. That's for me. And I'm like, I'm healing through these interviews. So the universe works funny ways. It connects us with the people we're meant to meet, whether they're a blessing or a blessing. That's another situation. But either way,
a what?
Blessing.
Oh, blessing. Okay.
basically a lesson in disguise, a blessing in disguise. It may
Oh,
seem like
gotcha.
you're being punished.
Yeah.
It's actually a quote from another business coach that I used to work with.
A
And
blessing or a lesson. That's
um,
fun. I've never heard that.
yeah, because you know what, like if we open our mind to look, well, the known expression I think is every problem has is an opportunity in disguise, right?
Mhm.
It's the same idea that if we open our minds to an opportunity to make mistakes, to do something when we're not perfect, okay, and to even be criticized, be bold, be courageous, like be unique, be authentic, we are going to encounter people who are not going to align with us and may cause some issues, but we're going to learn from that. We're
Mhm.
going to learn from that. And somebody told me, I think it was James Lamb last year, I took his class, and he said, for example, people who unsubscribed from your list, he said, do you have people who unsubscribe to your list? Be proud. You made it. You're at that level where people get to unsubscribe from your list,
Yeah.
right? It's a symptom. You don't always jive with everybody,
Mm-mm.
and that's okay. And this is one other thing that I noticed as a mistake from people on social media and in the speaking area in general and visibility, is that they do it by somebody else's rules. What
Mm.
we're giving you guys here are suggestions and strategies, but we want you guys to adapt them with your style, with your signature
Yes.
methods, with your colors, with your brilliance. I went to one of the speaking events 2 years ago, and there was a color specialist in there. And she just told me, I brought all my red stuff, some orange. And she's like, no, that's not going to work. This is like a scary color. It like scares people away. And, you would look good in da da da. And she gave me a list of like these colors that look awful on me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I've been making this mistake. So it was like a big name. So
Mm.
I leave and I'm all like, "Oof, what do I do?" Like I've gotten shaken. I've taken that feedback like not personally, but like I
Yeah.
allowed it to affect me. So
Yeah.
then I get back home, I get back on my calls, and I was interviewing somebody like just like this, and she was a branding specialist, and we got into the topic, and I was wearing red, and she's like, "What?" And I shared that experience. She's like, "That's ridiculous. You should do what feels good to you. If you feel good in red," and she's like, "You look good in red. You can rock the red, then do the red." Right? So stepping into your authenticity is so much more important than doing something by the book, than doing something by somebody else's rules, or even following a coach. Two coaches will say things that will contradict each other. Not
Yeah.
every coach agrees, right? So you got to filter all that information in, take what feels good, try it out, look at the analytics, drop the activities that don't produce results, do more of what produces results, and adapt, being adaptable, trying new things, pivoting. Another mistake people make is they're scared of pivoting. Oh,
Mhm.
that means I'm going to have to create a new logo. Oh my goodness. That means I'm going to have to change the font on my page. You know what? Again, another another issue, we're bringing them all kind of in the bucket here. Consistency between all, if you do decide to be omnipresent, and if you do decide to have presence on multiple channels, and that includes, for example, your website,
Mhm.
your messenger, if you have a messenger, your the picture you show on, let's say, if you use like a WhatsApp or anything where you're what do you call it, headshot is showing,
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
the speaking you apply to, summits you apply to, your speaker kit, your all of your social media pages, all of your Facebook groups, all of the stuff where you show up, use the same headshot, guys. Use the same headshot. It's not rocket science. You do not have to create a portfolio of images, and you can take one literally in front of your screen, you know, do something nice for the background. Mine's not a good example. And take a good photo and use it, because you will be recognizable. And just like repetition helps us
Mhm.
remember, the same image helps us recognize. So when I go to LinkedIn and I'm looking, and also obviously a super basic principle, but a lot of people don't understand. They use different names. They spell their
Mm.
names differently. They use a short version here. They use a middle name there. They use they use doctor in one and without doctor on the other. But doctor is like the little one. It's basically having a different name. For example, I had one lady, she was she had completely two different first names on two different platforms, and I could never find her
Yep.
on your email signature. Okay, all of these things have to be consistent,
Keep it
and your
consistent.
color palette has to be consistent. And I'm not saying hire a designer, create like, this brand kit. You don't have to. Just pick like a color theme. If you are into brights, just use the brights. If you are into pastels, use pastels. If you have like certain colors, it's good to have some sort of an image that inspires your brand, and maybe have it somewhere in a visible place. So when you are creating content, you can kind of pull colors out of that image, but you don't have to have it professionally done. Okay. Consistency. Overall, your brand has to be recognizable. A set of fonts that are recognizable. Again, doesn't have to be specifically exactly the same on all of the pages, because sometimes you don't have that ability to play with fonts. But don't just go anal with all of this stuff, because people spend, you probably will confirm that, Barnsley, especially the new ones, they spend months getting stuck in that mode of
Yeah, they're
designing their
just
brand.
procrastinating on making money. That's what I say. That's just an elaborate form of procrastination. You don't need to do it. I don't let my clients do it. We start generating revenue immediately. You don't even need a website anymore, UL. You can have a Facebook page. You can even just send people to your LinkedIn. So I want to say something about what you said, Jules. That is so true. The consistency piece, because it creates trust. It creates confidence. It's the same kind of thing that wherever we go in the world, if we have a Coca-Cola, we know it's a Coca-Cola, right? We know very clearly what it looks like, and we know what it is going to taste like, even though they taste a little different in Europe, I will say. So you want to have consistency, because that creates people trusting and coming back over and over and over again. And you want to make sure that all of these things, these colors that you use, your color palette, your favorite fonts, the way that your images look, the kinds of people that are in your images. I know I tell my VA all the time, lots of women of diverse ages, diverse backgrounds. I don't want you putting little white women who are only 20 years old in my stuff, because that is not my audience. I want diversity. I love diversity, and I want it in age, race, everything. So have a style sheet that as you decide these things, you put it in there, or if you have a virtual assistant, you have them put it in there. And then you can have that style sheet. And when someone comes on board to work with you down the road, you'll be able to say, and here's our style sheet. Here's our social media style sheet. And that is going to help create the consistency without you spending so much time training every single person. This is
Yeah.
something I learned late in the game. And I would say to everybody, do it from the beginning. Your life will be so much easier.
Yeah, I get my clients who are hiring our VAs. I get
Mm,
them to put all the stuff in a folder, and so that VA can
yeah,
always access it. Their articles, any information that shows their
everything.
voice, any images they like, these kinds of things that you're saying, the style sheets. Because once you have a folder, and it's good to have it even if you have a VA right now or not, you're
Yeah.
organizing stuff that's related to content, and also that's related to AI, because you can use all of these articles and feed AI your personality. And then when you use AI, the edits that AI produces are based on your voice so much more than if you were to just fresh, type in something into ChatGPT. Right. So it's good to start collecting all this information as you grow and you get ready to hire a team. And we can set you up with some teams here if you guys need it. But it's good to just start putting that stuff together, because what I find is the minute people decide to hire a VA, they go, what do I need to put in
I know.
place? And then they get scared. They're like, I don't have any of this. Well, you don't have to have any of this. Just start. But the more you have, the more the other person is going to know you and about you and
Yeah.
represent you. It's not mandatory, but it's good even for you to organize this stuff. Because, for example, you're going to go and apply to a speaking event. Well, you already have all the stuff in one place. You can go take
Yes.
the bits and pieces, right? Another really cool tip I teach my clients to do is document your live appearances like this,
Mm-hmm.
your podcast interviews. Anytime you did you know um, a magazine article for somebody, or wrote a chapter for a book or whatever, document that stuff, because you're going to use that later in applications to speak, and even in content. Every one of these pieces of guesting on somebody's platform can be used in so many different pieces of content. And when you are like dry on what do I post, Just go into that spreadsheet and pull something random out, put a random
Yeah.
clip, and you can even rewatch it and get re-inspired, and you can even create a content just based on rewatching something.
Exactly. And you can turn that, if you have a video, you can turn it into articles, blog posts, posts for social media. You could turn it into a lead magnet. You could have it be a chapter of a book. I mean, there's so many things that you can do. You can repurpose a video into a million different formats. And that way you're making the best use of it. And you don't have to sit down and come up with a new idea every time. This is such great advice, Jules, to actually keep track of every single thing you do, every place you guest. I keep track of every guest I have, how to keep in touch with you all so that I can do all sorts of things to continue promoting you beyond just this show. So these are things for everyone listening to keep in mind. These are some real great gold nuggets that are going to save you time. And again, if you don't have all this, don't worry, because when you get a VA, you could sit down with the VA and you could show them your website and say, hey, I like this font here. Let's use this one. I like my colors here. This is my color palette. So you can just kind of do a tour with them in a meeting, or you could even do a video that's a tour and have them put it into a style sheet for you. But when something happens to your VA, or they take a hiatus, or you hire other people, you definitely want to have these organizational tools, because it's going to make your life so much easier. Yeah. Oh, excuse me, Jules. I'm coughing. So this has been amazing. I know you and I could talk forever, right? We absolutely could.
We can probably cover another 50, but
Yeah,
we'll
we could
slow it
have
down.
a summer party on Bold Badass Business, and you all would still be taking notes tomorrow. But I want you to think about all the things that we've talked today, that you are not consistent on all your platforms, that you're not perhaps making calls to action, that you're trying to do what other people are doing rather than being original. Maybe you're not posting videos, or you're not posting animals, fun pictures of you climbing a mountain, if that's what you like to do. Maybe you're being way too salesy and trying to take people right into a sales funnel, or right into a sale instead of having them go through the client journey that Jules outlined so powerfully at the beginning. All of these mistakes are costing you business. They're costing you money that could be coming into your business, and they're costing you the impact that I know you want to have, or you wouldn't be listening to Bold Badass Business. So Jules has a freebie for you all. And by the way, all the freebies for all the episodes, this is thousands of dollars of freebies, you all, you can get at bit.ly/free from Dr. B. And that is spelled FREE, like free from Dr. DRB, as in Barnsley. bit.ly/free from Dr. B. And you go there, just put in your information, and you'll be able to unlock thousands and thousands of dollars of gifts. And Jules is going to tell you now what her gift is. Drum roll!
Yeah. So, as we talked about the client journey, sometimes people get stuck there because they don't know what it should look like for them, depending on where they want their business to go. So, I offer you guys to jump on a call, no obligation call, complimentary for the listeners and viewers of the show, where I will help you create a visibility roadmap. How do we get you more visible, move more clients through that journey, and what are some of the fundamental steps you need to take in order to make that happen? And I will explain to you how. So if you are ready for that, I invite you to connect and we'll do it together.
And it will be up in the freebie vault within 2 weeks of this episode, FYI, maybe even earlier, but it will definitely be up within 2 weeks, probably earlier, as we strive to get it up within a few days so that you can go in there and grab it. But for the meantime, go on in and help yourself to everything that's there. And Jules, you have just given us so much to think about, and you've really given us a way to plan, right? To think of social media and how it is just one part of a longer client journey. And it is also a holding ground for us to nurture the people we really want to work with, to nurture our tribe. So I really appreciate you being here. By the way, you all, I've got freebies in the freebie vault too. I forgot to mention that. And I would ask you to share the Bold Badass Business Show with someone you know who wants to start a business. Maybe they're struggling financially. Maybe they're in a business and not making money, and they're frustrated, and they're thinking about going back to a job they hate, in a cubicle where they feel like their whole life is withering. There's no garden. It's just a bunch of weeds, to use our metaphor from earlier. Share this show with them. We come here and my guests give their time so that your life can be different. And I personally want you to model having a kick-ass business that is multiple six figures or more, to all the children around you, to everyone around you, so that they know they can do it too. That's very important to me as a mom. And I think it is to you too, right, Jules?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I'm also a huge advocate of time and location freedom. So I want to do more. I want to accomplish more by doing less in less time, so that I can travel more and do the things I enjoy more in the free time that I generate by executing all these strategies. So hopefully we've saved you guys some time. We made you guys some money, generated some new leads, given you ideas, ways to structure your weeks, and so on and so forth. So what's missing is for you to create a list of 3 action steps from this, the ones that you commit to implement, and try to implement them this week or within a
And
week
one
of
of
watching
those
this.
should be to go get the dang freebie vault, because otherwise you're missing out on thousands of dollars of things that can help you in your business.
That too.
Again, bit.ly/free from Dr. B. DRB at the end. Okay, so thanks so much, Jules. Those of you listening, even if you don't feel like a badass, I know you are, because you showed up. Now show up next week. Here's your gentle butt kick. And I'll see you at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific on Bold Badass Business.